there chickens, welcome to this explanation and tour of my Filofax and a little bit of a chat about how I use paper and paper planning systems and stuff like that to improve my life, to lift my mood, to make me feel more in control of my reality. Now, for a lot of people, paper planning, it really doesn't flick their switch, it doesn't float their boat. If you're one of those people, please feel free to click off, because this is literally going to be me talking in depth about paper planning systems and about why my Filofax is set up the way that it is and how I feel that it helps me, etc., etc. Now, for somebody who's not interested in paper planning and doesn't see the point of paper planning, I'm not going to be able to convey to you the richness and the usefulness of it, because it is not going to be rich and useful for you. And that's fine. You know, there are lots of people that are not interested in paper planning, that don't necessarily feel that they need to have a hard copy of things. It's not how their brain works, etc. And that's good for them. For me, I have always felt like paper planning, having hard copies, working off of actual paper, tangible lists is very useful for me. It helps things to go in much better for my particular brain. It also gives me a lot of joy. I get a lot of pleasure from paper planning. And I also get a lot of pleasure from responsibly recycling my paper, so please don't give me a hard time. And to be honest with you, if you have a bound book, you're going to use a lot less paper and you're going to waste a lot less paper anyway. And I'm going to talk you through why. So I know there are people that say that you should really encourage your brain to switch to completely electronic planning, scheduling, etc. But that's never going to work for me. I've always found that if I need to work through a bunch of things that are written down for me in bullet point form in an email, for example, I need to print that email off. I cannot work from the electronic copy on the screen. I don't know why, I just need to have it in front of me. I need to be able to cross things off, highlight things, or tick off the tasks that I've completed. It's literally just the way that I am. It's the way my mind works. And I know that it's not the same for everybody. This is for the people who either have a paper planning system and would like to think about different ways of using it, or are just curious to see how I use mine. And it's also for people who do not have a paper planning system and are wondering if perhaps that is something that they do need to consider and maybe look into a bit more, and maybe they're looking for some advice or some inspiration. So it's for curiosity, and it's also to help people with a paper planning strategy. By the way, darlings, I'm drinking Immune Support today by Yogi Tea. It's echinacea, cherry and elderberry, and oh my goddess, it's fucking amazing. I thought I'd mention. Okay. So this is an A5 pink Filofax domino. It is a really awesome Filofax. A lot of Filofaxes have a kind of popper close mechanism, but this one has the elastic band, which I find to be really good because I like to overstuff it quite a bit. In fact, I think this is quite conservative for what would normally, the amount of stuff that would normally be in there. But I did a little bit of clearing up and sorting out in there before starting this video. So I feel like this is actually quite, this is actually a reasonable amount of paper I've got in there at the moment. So because I like to overstuff, that's one good reason to have the Filofax domino, because you've got that elastic closure. And then also the other reason I love it is because it's vegan, and a lot of things in the Filofax range are not vegan. I definitely I'm not adverse to the idea of having a secondhand Filofax that you would get from somebody off eBay. Filofax are extremely well made organisers. They make really good stuff that lasts and lasts. So for me as a vegan, I'm not adverse to picking up something secondhand that somebody else is getting rid of, but I actually just really like the design of the domino anyway. I think it looks really good and I really love it. I've had mine since April of 2015, and it was a big level up for me. I normally before that never worked in anything that was a ring binder. It was always bound stuff, and I want to get into why having a ring binder is a much better idea for me and why it helps me not to waste paper. In fact, let me talk about that right now. So basically, the reason I moved into a ring binder was because I'm one of those people, and I know a lot of you are going to relate to this, a lot of people watching this video. I'm one of those people that falls in love with bound notebook and planner after bound notebook and planner. I used to be always in paper chase, picking up something else and something else that was bound. And so I've got this collection of bound notebooks, a lot of which I really just have never done anything with. Some of them will be half completed. Some of them, they'll have a project going on in them, and then that project won't mean anything to me anymore, won't matter anymore, and I'll move on to something else. So, you know, it really, the usefulness of having bound planners and bound notebooks was questionable for me. Don't get me wrong, when it comes to my spiritual journals and when it comes to my poetry that I, the books that I write poetry in and stuff like that, it is useful to have a bound book, and I will use that bound book until the bitter end. I don't want to have a ring binder because I don't want to take things in and out. I want to have a record, a chronological record of what I have written, and so having a bound book makes absolutely the most amount of sense. But when it comes to planning, strategizing for what I want to do, making lists of things that I need to buy or things I need to research or whatever, I'm not going to need to keep those things forever. That paper can be recycled. And there's no point in purchasing a bound book that is absolutely chock full of paper for something that I might only need a few sheets for. There's no point in purchasing a bound book for a project if I don't know whether or not that project is really going to stick. Am I still going to be working on that in 3 months, 6 months, a year? Or is it going to be a flash in the pan, and am I going to regret having purchased a bound book? So I think when you move to a ring binder and you just put inserts into a ring binder, you are already saying to yourself, I don't want to waste paper. I don't want to buy things needlessly. I want to use the paper that I need to use. If indeed I am a paper planner and I am someone that likes hard copy and I am someone that likes to make lists with a pen and stuff like that, fine, okay, but I want to be able to be economical and environmental about it as much as I can. I want inserts, and then I can just use an insert when I need it and recycle it when it's done with. So to me, that's why I moved on from having the bound planners and notebooks. Like I said, I still do purchase one when I require a new book of mirrors or a new book for my poetry, because that's the kind of thing where a bound book is required, right? But when it comes to everyday planning and stuff like that, and so many of the things that I use paper for, that paper can be recycled. It's one insert is all it needs, and then it can be recycled when I'm done. So I really, really love working from a ring binder. Personally, for me, for the everyday, going into it every single day, I would not want anything smaller than an A5. There's no way that I could work from a personal or a pocket for every day. Although I do have the pocket, I'm just going to reach over to my bag. I do have the pocket version of the Filofax domino for when I'm out and about, and that has been brilliant. I think I got that in 2016. And I use that all the time. Like, it's constantly in my bag, and yeah, I love it. So I do have the mini version for when I'm out. So I don't want to take the big monster with me, but I do have a mini version, with a specific setup in there. So yeah. Basically, I really, really love this. I'm glad that I invested in it because it made it more serious to me in terms of experimenting with a new paper planning system. I was nervous of moving from bound to ring binder, which I don't know why, because it's amazing. You can reorganize it as many times as you want. You can take things out, put things in, move things around. Why would you not want that for your paper planning system? It doesn't make any sense to me why that wouldn't be what you would choose. A lot of you will have already actually seen my A5 Filofax domino because it has featured in 1 or 2 videos before. I'm going to put links down below to the previous videos that I have made about paper planning, using paper for organization or for brainstorming, whatever it might be. There's an entire planner community, guys, that can give you hundreds of different ideas about how to use your ring binder planner and how to make it really useful for you. And obviously you're going to want to have your own explorations, and that's something that I talk about in one of the previous videos that I'll link down below about paper planning and using paper planning systems. I do say that really you've got to experiment until you hit upon a system that works for you and a setup that works for you, and then you will find what they call planner piece in the planner community. And once you've found planner piece, you're good to go. You actually have figured out a system that really works for you and actually calls you to utilize it for the betterment of your life, whether it's your personal life, your professional life, whatever. All I'm going to be doing is showing you what is inside mine. I'm definitely not saying that you should use this system. I think everybody has got to go their own way. Okay, so basically you open up this elastic sort of like closure, and then you are inside my planner. And this is where all the magic happens, guys. So basically I use this for both professional plans and personal plans. Some things that I do in my, wait a second, I really want to turn that lamp off because it's annoying me. One sec. Sorry guys, that was really going to get on my tits. There we go. I don't want any glare. So a few things I will say about the Filofax domino. It definitely stands the test of time. It's definitely very hardy and very sturdy, but you do get sometimes pieces of the thread coming away that you have to pull off. And I found that with my mini version as well, the pocket version, you can see here that it needs actually a little bit of cutting because it's constantly being thrown around in my bag. That is definitely a design flaw about these. The elastic is very strong. I don't think I'm going to need to worry about replacing the elastic on either of these for some time. The pen loop in the Filofax A5 Domino does become loose though. You can see there that I've got a couple of staples where I've had to tighten the pen loop some. But other than that, I would say it's a really good choice if you want to get a ring binder planner. So I'm just going to basically talk you through what is in here and have a little bit of a natter throughout the process and explain why things are important to me and why things are helpful to me. So first of all, you'll see that I've got this great big paper clip, and that is because I think one of the other slight design flaws of the Domino, and it's not really a design flaw, it's more just something that is going to happen over the course of time, but basically this inner sleeve here has become a little bit loose, and because I like to keep stickers and post-it notes in here, having the giant paper clip is just something that keeps everything reasonably together. So in the front pocket I've got some post-its and some stickers, and basically I always keep a massive collection of stickers and post-it notes and stuff like that to make my pages look colourful and beautiful, to alert my eye to different things that I might need to remember, to satisfy and please my inner child. If I don't have some cupcake stickers, then nothing's going to get done. That's a joke. That's an exaggeration. Let's say it's an exaggeration, not a joke. I never joke about stickers. Stickers are serious. Okay, so yeah, that's what's in the front pocket, and I just keep it all together with the paper clip, giant paper clip. I also use the front pocket to sometimes keep tickets that I might need for things, bills that I need to pay, or other things that I need to put in the post, I might put there. If I've got a package I need to pick up from the post office, I'll just pop it inside that big paper clip on the front, and then basically I know where it is. I'm one of those people that will put something down or put something in an obvious place or a sensible place or a safe place, and you'll never fucking see it again, for real. So for me, having, let's say, a hub in the form of this Filofax is really useful, because if I can't think where I put something, or I can't think you know, where I stored something, it's probably in the Filofax, because I know that I'm like that, and I know that I have a tendency to just put things down and never know where I put them. So I have a habit of flinging things in the Filofax. Even if the Filofax is just closed and I just shove it in the elastic or shove it inside, that's my way of saying to myself, I know what's going to happen if I don't put it in there. It's probably going to get lost. I have had this image of some chill pills right at the front of my Filofax since day, basically. It's been in there the entire time. I'll probably never take it out, because it's just a funny little way of me reminding myself, whatever you're coming in here for, however much you've got on in the course of your day, whatever's happening, take a chill pill. And then I've also got my clips on the top, my magnetic clips. I love them. I use them for the books that I'm reading, the research that I'm doing. I use them to keep small bunches of paper together. I use them so that I've got a quick way to reference something in my Filofax if I was using it, but I need to go to a different page. So I really love them. And I also keep, and this is actually quite useful, I'll just grab these out of my pencil case, I also keep a collection of these larger clips that actually stick out. When you use a Filofax and you've got lots of different things in there, you're going to want a few of these bad boys, so that if you're working from various different parts of the Filofax, you know where you are and you can reference where you are. When you turn over this first page, you've got Freddie Mercury there on the inside page, the very essence of the divine masculine. And frankly, he's one of the only men I need to see of a morning to feel like I'm having a good time and the day is full of beauty, warmth and possibility. So I love to have Freddie there. And then I've got what we call the fly sheet, and that's basically like a plastic see-through sheet that you usually use for your stickers and your post-it notes that you want to access on a regular basis. I've always had one of these fly sheets. I think it's a really good idea. I really like to sort of accent my pages with different things and use tabs and whatnot to get the information into my head. So for me, I'm one of those people where if I'm trying to take responsibility for something, if I'm trying to plan for something, if I'm trying to organize something, if I'm trying to create a strategy, my inner child has got to be happy with what is going on. Otherwise, she's going to get very stubborn and very annoyed very quickly, and she's not going to play ball. And she wants everything to look like this. She wants things in hot pink. She wants stickers. She wants everything to look visually pleasing. She wants everything to be very inviting. And what I find is if I don't allow 6-year-old me to have things the way she wants them, things really just probably won't get fucking done. I'm really sorry about that drilling, guys. I hope it's not too overly loud. I do need to carry on because I'm on a very tight schedule for today. I've got a lot of things that I want to accomplish with this morning, so I'm hoping that that's not too distracting. So yeah, basically that's what I tend to find. I think a lot of this is for the little version of me inside that is stubborn about consensus reality and wants to at least make things pretty and appealing. If I'm going to be thinking about how I've got to divide my time up and how much responsibility I've got on me, I think things need to feel and look a certain way. And that is one of the main things that is helpful to me about having a paper planner. Of course, the other very helpful thing is that I'm self-employed and I work alone. So I feel like this is sort of my little buddy. It's my accountability buddy. It's my way of opening up in the morning and saying, okay, the working day has begun. Not that I don't use it on my days off, and I'll definitely get into some of the ways I use it that are not linked to my profession. But, you know, it is one of those things where when I'm having a working day, it's very useful to feel like I've got this tool that just locks me into what I'm doing and makes me feel excited about what I'm doing. Darlings, the road is actually closed outside of my living room window, and that is why I decided I was going to film in the living room, because I felt like, oh, it's so quiet, the road is closed. But actually, all along, the road was closed so they could do some disastrously loud roadworks, which I'm now just realising. So I'm going to probably have to pick you guys up and take you to the bedroom. So here's a jump cut. Okay, doll faces, we are in a little bit of a quieter position now. I do think the roadworks are actually down the side of my house because I can still hear them from here, but hopefully they are not going to be too distracting for you. So yeah, basically I've got a fly sheet with post-its on each side that are really useful to me, either to pull off and stick on other things or to stick them on pages in my Filofax. And I've also got loose leaf paper of different kinds. I'm the kind of person who acquires very cute note paper. I get a lot of it for birthday and Christmas from people. I've managed to pretty much remove myself from receiving any Christmas presents now. I think the vast majority of people in my life are completely aware that I do not celebrate Christmas. I do not like present exchange for Christmas or anything like that. But, you know, a sort of blotter pad of notepaper lasts for quite a long time. You know, like a writing pad lasts for quite a long time. So I've got stuff that I've received for Christmas years ago that I still very much am getting through and using slowly for different things, different projects and whatever. So it's amazing when you receive some stationery, how long that stationery can last for, essentially, if you're not using it all the time or every day. So yeah, I've got lots of beautiful loose leaf paper that I've got in there, and you've got also a few more of my lovely magnetic clips that I'm quite fond of collecting. On the other side, I have one of my head bitches in charge. Very important, I think, to have an image of her in the Filofax. It is instantly calming and inspiring. So that's always good to have. And now I've got my zip pocket, and this is full of even more stickers. And this is not even all the stickers that I own, guys. I have a folio with other stickers because I'm a little bit of a collector. I wouldn't say it's too wild. I'd say that I've been collecting stickers since about 2014, on and off. And it's only if I see some that I really, really love. I love the acid house smiley face. So obviously they're in there. And yeah, I like to sort of just pick up stuff if I think it's interesting, if I think it's joyful, and if it makes my inner child feel fizzy. So yeah, I've got lots of things in this pocket that I can use to decorate pages, and some stickers I've been sent by people, which is really lovely. And I've got some monsters in here. And some kind of like travel type stickers, lots of pink hearts. Yeah, basically, as I told you, it's really all about making sure my 6-year-old is as appeased as she wants to be, and I mean the 6-year-old within. One thing I will say, if you have been previously partial to a bound notepad or a kind of pull-out notepad with perforated pages or whatever, if you've been somebody who's quite addicted to collecting them, if you've been quite fond of picking them up over the years and then finding that you only half use them, or they lay around abandoned and you're partial to buying another one and another one, switching to a ring binder can really sort that problem out and help you to actually use leftover paper from previous paper planning systems that were not as useful. So for instance, I definitely was a fan of buying these kinds of pads, you know, that have like list paper in them or whatever. I would buy one, I would feel good about it for a while, I would use it for a little while, and then I'd move on to another one or another one. And then I would just find that I had this mass of paper lying around. On top of that, as I mentioned, I'm the kind of person that you might buy a cute notepad for Christmas or whatever. So I had also a lot of stationery that came to me that way. Switching to the ring binder, I've found that I've used a lot of this paper. I'm much more enthusiastic about this paper because I can change it up. I think if you buy a notepad like this one, for instance, that had like 100, 150 pages of this unicorn stuff in it, then you do get bored of it. However fizzy paper planning makes you feel, and however much you love pretty paper, colourful paper, novelty paper, conceptual stationery, you're going to get bored with having the same thing and using the same pad over and over again. And I think that's where you get this silly sort of, I say silly, it feels silly really, because it's wasteful, but that's where you get this desire for another pad and another pad, even though you've got ample paper. And I think a lot of paper planners fall into this trap, and it's really unfortunate. When you move to a ring binder and you get your hole punch, well, in my case I've got a Filofax hole punch that fits these particular holes, you can actually start to use a lot of the paper that was previously being wasted or had been forgotten about. You can actually slice pages, novelty looking nice pages, out of bound books that you previously hadn't been using. Maybe you felt a bit too precious about them, maybe you got bored with them, but you like the paper, you like the design, there's a motif on there that you like. Cut it out, hole punch it, put it into your ring bound planner, and it really gives you a sense that you've got all of this different fun paper that you can work with, which keeps things interesting, and you are using all of the paper that was previously just lying around and not really doing much. So I always like to have a few sheets of different kinds of paper that I'm trying to use up, that I've been given as presents or whatever, and that people have seen and been like, oh, I thought you might like that. Actually, a couple of times I've gotten paper from people who were given paper by someone else, but they don't use paper, and they instantly think of me, and they're like, oh, Kellyanne will like that, Kellyanne uses paper. So and it's always lovely. I always feel, or sometimes people are raiding the stationery cupboard at work for things that are not wanted anymore or have been lying around for years, and I actually get quite a lot of stationery cupboard hauls from people who are, who've got lots of surplus stuff at their work that's just been sat there forever and ever. And so people come back to me with like a box of giant paper clips, and they say, oh, we thought you might like this or whatever. So, and I love that. I love that people think of me for paper planning stuff, but it does mean that there's a surplus of stuff sometimes, and having a ring bound planner has really helped with that. So like this is my unicorn paper, I've got some list paper, I've got here today's to-dos, everything and priority. So yeah, it's just nice to be able to work on something a bit different. If my inner 6-year-old is like, I want my unicorn paper, then it's right there. So now we've come to my diary tab in the Filofax. Oh my god, I made this divider, or this collection of dividers in 2015, and I'm still using them. As you can see, there is a bottom tab for the diary so that I can go in straight from the front, and I very often do that. I open up the Filofax, grab this tab, and I'm right there on the actual diary insert, and that's where I write down my list of things that I've got to do. I might divide my day into morning, afternoon and evening. However I want to do it, there's usually something that I'm working from for the day. So that comes in after this paper. You've got the diary insert. There's also a ruler there, a Filofax ruler, in case I want to make underlinings on plain paper. And then I've got a couple of postcards that have, again, always been there since I got the Filofax in 2015. With a cup of tea in your hand, anything is possible, which, frankly, yes, obviously, forever. And more clips. Again, I've just had so many of them over time. I think I've had these ones for literally years, like since 2011, 2012. I've had these metal clips. I've got a great affection for the stationery that I have. It does get used, and like I said, having the ring bound planner makes it much easier to use stationery that might previously have been a little bit forgotten, abandoned, because I was previously keen on collecting different bits and pieces, and so things would just sort of go to the back of my mind, go to the back of a box or whatever, and I wouldn't think of it again. And having a ring bound planner really got me excited about what I already had in my collection that was not really being used. So I would definitely say if you have a surplus of stationery and you've previously been a bit of an addict for bound books that then, become abandoned or are wasted, Again, switching to a ring bound planner, do yourself a favour if you are a paper planner and you've found that the bound books are just not doing it for you anymore. It doesn't have to be a Kiki K or a Filofax. I mean, it can literally be a ring binder that you pick up from, the local dollar store or whatever. It doesn't have to be a grandiose thing. I felt like I really wanted a strong level up, and I was very excited by the planner community at the time. And I was watching a lot of planner videos and thinking, I really could have something that feels like a companion tool that actually gets me excited about the day's work. And so for me, it made sense to go for a Filofax, and I have no regrets. But if you are not sure yet and you are only just coming into paper planning, or you're only just switching from bound to ring bound, then for me, I just think, pick up something sweet and simple, see if it works for you, and then level up from there. So, how do I organise my days? So, I used to always use these, the week on 2 pages inserts, where you put the date in the top so you don't have to do it every week. If you've got a week off, or you've got a week where you're ill or you haven't got much on, it doesn't matter because these are not dated. And I really like that about these particular inserts. If you can find inserts or make your own inserts which are not dated, that stops a lot of wasted paper as well, guys. So I just want to put that out there. The dated year diary inserts, you're going to probably waste paper if you do not religiously use them every day or every week. For me, I do not need a week to view every single week of the year, and sometimes I do prefer to plan in other ways, or I do just want to make quick to-do lists rather than actually seeing everything laid out. So for me, having a dated week to view diary of inserts, there's going to be waste. Whereas these ones are great because I can just decide, oh, you know what, I need a week to view this week. I want to see everything laid out. I've got a lot of planning that I need to do. I've got a few social engagements. I need to figure out where I can fit things in. Then I turn to one of these inserts, the week on 2 pages dateless inserts. I add the dates in at the top, and then everything's divided by time. So you've got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and you've got 2 lines for each hour from 8 in the morning until 8 in the evening. And then you've got a little bit of notes area here where you can make free notes. I used to love these. I used to use them really, really regularly. I don't use these as regularly anymore because, like I said, I don't always need to have a week to view. Sometimes I just prefer to have a quick plan before I go to bed the night before of the top 3 or 4 things that I want to get done. I don't necessarily want to put any times against it. I don't necessarily want to be very rigid and very scheduled. I just want to have a visual reference for when I wake up of what needs doing. So I will not use the week on 2 pages, but sometimes it's fucking great to have the week on 2 pages, and I'll sit there and I'll pre-plan a lot of the week, and it'll be really good to have the time slots there. So these are really good inserts. I will leave down below the reference number for these inserts. Wait a minute, let me actually just get the reference number now because I know there'll be a Filofax planner addict who'll want them. It is AY-68514. That's what these inserts are, and I think they're absolutely brilliant because they don't hold me to anything. I can just use them as I want to use them. Other times I make my own inserts. I've kept one in here actually from September that I've posted a photo of on Instagram, and I also posted a photo in my business group. So I thought, you know what, if I do end up doing a walkthrough of my Filofax planner, I want to just keep this as well to show people. So this is an insert that I made for the day of the 20th of September. It's on dotted paper, so you can basically take a ruler to it and make your own plan for the day. You make your own insert. Having the dotted paper is really great because you can decide what you want to do with it. If you know that you only need a box for morning, afternoon, evening, fine. If you know you want other boxes as well, or you want to put some decorations on, or whatever the case may be, fine. You can leave some of the boxes blank if you have, if you know that you want to have a little bit of room for notes. With this one, I have the date up here. I've got a little glasses of water thing that I was supposed to be going along and doing, but I didn't end up doing it. And then I've got the morning checklist, afternoon checklist, evening checklist, and then I've got bonus points, so things that maybe I won't get done, but if I do get done, it's a good thing. And then I've got a list of fun stuff that I was doing with that day so that I could really feel like, you know what, even though I've got all this stuff I've got to do, there's some fun stuff as well that I can look forward to, and I wrote that down too. This took me literally between 5 and 10 minutes of the night before. Not very long, just to sit there with a ruler, a highlighter and a pen and create an insert that I knew was going to be accompanying me through the following day. And this is the kind of thing that I mean about paper planning. If you're not into it, I'm not going to be able to get you into it. It's something that you're not going to enjoy. It's something you're not going to be that bothered about, and that's fine. But if you know that you are inspired by paper, you are inspired by colours, you are inspired by the creativity of a paper planning system, this literally takes no time at all, but it makes the next morning feel so much better and so much more full of possibility. And you feel like you're being accompanied by something that you pre-designed to inspire you and make sure that you are productive for the day. I'm not saying it's a completely foolproof system. I'm not saying it works every single time. But certainly what I am saying is that if you can sit there for 5 or 10 minutes in the evening with your cup of tea or whatever, your glass of wine, and just go through and actually decide what you're going to do for the next day, and you have a pleasing visual representation of it. I mean, this is very rough. There's not lots of decor on there or whatever. But if you can do that, why not? And it really gives you the opportunity to have the potential for a strong start the next day. Sometimes I will do that for a few days in a row, and sometimes it will just be one individual day. And sometimes I just literally work from a list, like I'm working from today. Well, this one's from yesterday actually, but I've got a couple of things I want to carry over, and then I'm going to make my new list right here because it's the morning time at the moment. So I am just about to make my list for the day. Got a little bit of washi on there just for a visual element, but essentially very sweet and simple. You're just basically working from a list, and you go through the list and you keep the Filofax open on that page so that you can keep referring to it, keep ticking things off, etc. So that's how it goes. And that's the diary area of the Filofax. Then we move on to my exercise goals tab, which is actually a new tab, and I need to still put a title for it on here so I can actually see it along the side, because at the moment I can't. This has had a massive clear out. I've actually been going to the gym since September 2017, and I've been working on this tab since then. So it was actually overstuffed with all of my different gym sessions and how much gym I did and stuff like that. But I've just had a massive clear out of it. So at the moment I've just got on the inside a quote that I've always found is really useful and inspiring for me, and then I've got my goals and focus areas, motivation reminders, aesthetic goals, stamina goals, and mental and emotional goals, and then observations and achievements along the way. And I've actually stopped writing them, so I need to put a few more of them down. Behind that I've got some notes about food and healthy snacks and stuff like that. I'm not going to show you everything from my planner because I do feel like it's important to keep some things private and some things personal, but I just want to give you a sense of what you can include in your planner and what's helpful. So I do have my exercise stuff in there. I am moving over into recording that stuff electronically more and more, simply because I actually feel motivated to record it while I'm like on the seated bike machine at the gym, rather than feeling motivated to record it in the Filofax when I get home. But it was very useful for a couple of years when I was first sort of integrating the gym into my routine and figuring out what's possible with the gym and stuff. It was very useful to have this tab for definite. I don't know if I will carry on with this tab or if I will move completely to electronic, but I think that's one of those things that you just need to lean into, essentially, and you will find what works for you over the course of time. Okay, so the next tab that I do think a lot of people are going to find useful and interesting, and this is something that I have touched on in a previous video, but it was a long time ago, is the routines tab right here, routines. Let me open up to this and explain a little bit about what's going on with this particular area in my Filofax, because I do think this is something that could really be useful to a lot of people who find life overwhelming and find, chores overwhelming, and keeping on top of things can be overwhelming. It's overwhelming for me as well, so I want to explain how routines really help me to stay on track and get things done. When I know that, for instance, my kitchen is a state and it needs sorting out, and I've had a couple of nights of making food and not everything is clean, and I've got some recycling that needs doing, and I've got this and that, I can get overwhelmed by that. I can feel like I don't know where to start. I can feel like the task is overwhelming me, even if I know logically that it's not going to be overwhelming and it's only going to take me a set amount of time. I can build it up in my head until it's something that I really don't want to do. That is where routines come in. So this is my kitchen routine, and all it does is it reminds me of various different things that are done in the kitchen in order to achieve a nice, clean, orderly kitchen. but I've got those things actually written out so that I can mentally tick them off in my head as I go. So I've got here wash up, dry up, wipe the sides down. Really simple shit. It's not that I don't know it. It's that when I see it written out, segmented for me into different manageable bites, if you will, it becomes much easier for me to handle. And this is something I really want to impart to you in case you're also one of those people that finds things to be just overwhelming. Maybe you need to have some routines written down. So wash up, dry up, wipe the sides down, change the bin, recycling paper, recycling plastic, recycling food, clean the floor, clean the fridge, organise cupboards, clean the hob and clean the oven. Do I need to do all 12 of those things every time I go into my kitchen? No, of course not. But I can go as far as I want to with the routine. It starts with the really obvious things, and then it goes on into the various things I might want to do if I'm doing more of a deep clean, let's say. I have these for every area of my home, no joke of a lie. I've got one for the living room, I've got one for the bedroom, I have got one for the bathroom, and I have got one for the hallway and landing. That's how seriously I take my routines, guys. It's just really useful to break your apartment or house down, even break the different segments of your room down. If you live in a room in a shared house, or if you're living in a room at your parents' house, you can still have a routine that takes every area of your room into consideration. And basically it's just useful to have a list visually in front of you that reminds you, oh yeah, that's the next step, that's the next step. So you're basically you're sort of guiding and shepherding yourself through the process using the visual representation of the different things that are part of the routine. That can be really helpful. I think it can be helpful for people with all kinds of different challenges. You know, if you're going through issues with your mental health, with your emotional well-being, if you have things like ADD, for instance, if you are somebody who gets very anxious and overwhelmed by the enormity, the seeming enormity of a task, I think there's lots of different reasons why you might want to have a routine that you can look at. I've got some routines actually from my previous Filofax setup that I kept in case I needed to move them into my new one. And I want to further inspire you by showing you these, because these are not just for, you know, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, but I've also got like different routines for stuff. So I've got a declutter and clean routine. Bags, coats and jackets, art supplies and magazines. I've got a lot of them, so maybe I want to declutter and clean that area. Laptop files, decluttering the laptop, looking at what's on the laptop, the SD card, what's going on there, you know. So basically it just reminds me of things. I've got one here for messages and networking, outstanding text. This is really old, guys. This is from when my business was called the Four Queens. But I've kept it because I kept it in the back pocket of my Filofax because I didn't know whether or not I might want to refer back, because this is quite a good messaging and networking list. And this is another one that I made from back in the day, the Facebook other folder, which is a shit show, guys. Please don't message me on Facebook. It will go into my other folder and I will likely never see it, or I will see it very late. Please email me. The other folder has gotten out of all control. I mean, look how enthusiastic I was. Look at my little fucking butterfly and my little cherries. I'm so cute. And yeah, I've got another declutter and clean list. I've got a couple of self-care lists here. I've got a neaten, straighten and loose ends list that's got a few things in it I might need to remember, including clearing out and organising of the Filofax itself. So these things just provide me with a feeling that I've got some control over my immediate reality. I don't need a ridiculous amount of control. It's not an unhealthy amount of control that I'm looking for. It's just a feeling that I know what the next action might need to be, and I've got a tool there that will help me. And honestly, it just really helps me to lessen the amount of stress that I feel about whatever it is that I'm entering into, that I'm doing. Have a go at creating some routines. If anything that I'm saying is making any remote sense to you and you feel like you might need that, really have a go at it. You know, even if you're not a paper planner and you're just watching this out of some weird morbid curiosity to see how the other half live, fine, but you know, write yourself down some electronic routines. You know, go into your Samsung Notes or whatever it is you've got, go onto your laptop, open up a Word document and write some routines to help you to keep in mind what is the next thing. You know, it's really, really helpful, I must say. It's so helpful. So the next few tabs that I've got are inspire, lists and notes, and they really all do exactly what they say on the tin. I'm not going to go into them big time because again, it's about privacy and it's about me not showing every single page of my Filofax because it's my journey and it's my things that I've got written down. So, but the inspire tab is basically things that inspire me. It's my inspiration station, basically. It says this is the place to brainstorm content for the blog channel, hash out ideas for courses, and pin inspiring stuff to refer back to. And that's a note that I made on this particular divider in 2015 when I got the Filofax, and that's basically what I've been doing ever since. That is what the Inspire tab is all about. It's got different notes on it for things that I might want to try. It used to have a lot of pictures in it and stuff like that, and I think I'm definitely going to go back to doing that a bit more so I can just randomly flick through and see inspiring pictures. It's got some quotes in there. Now the lists tab, this is a tab where I make lists of things, basically. It's literally that simple. So I've got a list of films that I want to see that I haven't seen yet. I've got a deck wish list in there. I've got a list of things that I want to do with my money. I've got a list of different people that I would like to interview for my deep chats episodes. So anything like that where I knew that I wanted to write a list, I can go to the list tab and I can refer to that list and I can tick things off from that list. And I can also transfer. So if quite a lot of things are done from a particular list, whether it's things I want to research, things I want to buy, things I need to, anything like that. But maybe I've got a couple of things left on there, I will switch to a new piece of paper and make a fresh list and then recycle the other insert. And that keeps things reasonably civilized in the lists section. It's only about that much, which really, if you know me and if you know what I'm like, then you'll know that a list is definitely something that I find appealing. I do like to write lists, but at the same time, there can be a shadow side to lists. You can get way too into them. It can become something that you use to distract yourself from actually getting things done that are on the lists, So I think sometimes lists can be comforting, but it's kind of cold comfort. So I try and keep this section to just the things that I do definitely need to have a list for, basically. The notes section, I definitely am not going to be showing you because most of that is things like my passwords for various things. I've got in there my different email addresses that I need, different reference numbers, different people's bank details. It's like a hard copy of those things. Some of them I also have on electronic copy on my phone, but I know that I need to have another copy of them. It's also for things like, let's say that I make a complaint. I made a complaint to the council a few months ago. I need to keep a reference of whenever I've called the council, who I spoke to, whereabouts we are with the complaint, that kind of thing. So that sort of stuff I keep in notes, and notes is more sort of like my official stuff, and it's very useful to have all of that stuff in one place at the back of the Filofax. So yeah, and I also keep a lot of my spare paper at the back here. So I've got various different styles of insert here that I can quickly grab. I've got a lot of my spare paper mixed in with a lot of my notes. Here I've got timetable inserts that I purchased. I think that was from Paper Chase, and that was a long time ago. I've got here some plain paper inserts. So yeah, I've got some of those sort of month to view, date-free inserts that I used to use to track my gym sessions. I've got a few of them in the back there in case I need to use them for anything. And then right at the very end of the notes section, I have got here my tabs for January through December. This can be really, really useful if I'm planning for a big project. If I'm planning for a big project, or if I'm planning what I want to do for every month for the next 3 months, the next 6 months, whatever. So these have been used and reused, and yeah, they're super useful. And then I've got another fly sheet at the back there, just in case I want to attach more stickers or post-its or whatever. And also it just protects the last piece of paper from the back of the Filofax. Now, right at the back of the Filofax, you can have an A5 notepad and stick the cardboard bit down there and actually have spare paper at the back. I used to do that for a long time, but you know what? I never really used the spare paper that much, and it was just taking up room and making the Filofax unnecessarily fat. So I just stopped doing that now. So now I've just got a handy little pocket in the back if there's anything that I want to keep maybe for future reference. So darlings, I really hope that this was a useful thing for you to have a tour of, because I have really found that having a paper planning system of any kind is very helpful to me. It's something that just makes me feel that I'm accompanied through the day by something that is useful, it's beautiful, it feels like me, it feels like something I've put my personality into. It's not too over the top, it's not a burden for me to keep it. I haven't got loads of pointless decorations in it. By the way, I'm not trying to be shady to anybody who likes a lot of decorating with their planning. But for me, you know, whenever I'm like going to my diary, for instance, whenever I'm using a page like this, I'm only ever going to be looking at it for a 2 or 3 days maximum, right? It's literally a list of things that I need to get done. And even when I make an insert that's got, you know, morning, evening, morning, afternoon, and evening in it or whatever, I don't want to make it too precious. I don't want to be too precious about it because I'm not going to be looking at it for very long. There are countless ones of these that I've made over the course of time that I've gone on to recycle. So I don't want to be really precious about it. But if you want to, and if that's part of what soothes you or makes you feel better about whatever it is you've got going on during the course of the day, fine. You know, absolutely make that a part of your planning. It's really about figuring out what works for you. For me, some of the things that I will put onto my lists for the day will be personal things, you know, like laundry, for instance, is on there. I've got to go and get my friend's prescription put in at the doctor's. That's personal. But then I've also got like newsletter video, doing emails, doing book segments, doing a video. You know, that's more professional stuff. I very often, if I've got readings that I need to do during the course of the day, email readings, video readings, I like to just put a list of the order numbers there with little tick boxes so that as I go through the order numbers, I can tick them off and I just get a sense of satisfaction from that. I don't need to do that technically. If you really think about it, I've got a store provider. I've got a list of all of the readings there that I've got to do, and I click delivered on them when I've done them. So I don't need to have a hard copy with all of the order numbers. But if I'm feeling overwhelmed or if I'm feeling like I want that companion vibe from my planner, it's really good to just say, okay, I've got these 4 order numbers. I'm going to do them before lunch. I'm going to have a break, and then I've got another 2, and I can actually see it. For me, there is a big thing about the visual and sort of tangible aspect of paper planning. It's you know, it's something that is useful for me, and if it's something that you think is going to be useful for you, I really encourage you to try it. And this is just my little pen testing area here on the back. So, darlings, I hope this has been useful, interesting, and let me know down below, do you have a paper planning system? Did you used to have a paper planning system and maybe you want to go back to it? Do you feel that this is something that you actually require? Is it something you've been thinking about for a while? By all means, go back and watch the similar videos that I've made on the channel about this very topic. I'm going to leave, as I said, some links down below for things that might be helpful. Thank you so much for coming along with me on my Filofax tour. I've really enjoyed talking about this. It's something that I can be quite geeky about. And I want to sort of say for the record that I'm not saying, and I think I said this earlier in the video, I'm not saying that this is going to solve all your problems. I'm not saying that it's the only thing that you need in order for everything in your life to start going right. There'll always be things that go wrong. There will always be things that slip your mind. And there will always be things as well that you might place onto a list and you might like actually ignore it and go round it because you're resisting it for some reason. And actually, I think paper planning is a really good way to spot that. For me, it's actually been a really interesting way to spot that, because I'll put something on a list to be done and then I'll tick everything else off the list and I won't tick that off. And I'll be like, after a while, once I've pulled it over to the next day and pulled it over to the next day, I'll kind of think, okay, that's really interesting. Why am I avoiding that? And that'll be something I have to look at. So sometimes it is interesting in terms of like spotting issues with your own response to something and issues with your own psychology. And sometimes it's just a way to ensure that you see Freddie Mercury every day. Much love, darlings. Until the next video, blessed be.